Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera and watch as things go incredibly awry. There wasn't a stream last week, or this time last week at the very least, and there was a fairly decent reason for that, which is that I absolutely hecked my wrist on the Monday, and by the Tuesday, it was no better. Actually, it's gotten substantially worse, because now basically every single joint in my body is constantly aching. Now, fear not, I have already tested. I am not, in fact, contracting and carrying and spreading and whatnot the plague. But in their infinite wisdom, my GP's advice is, wait. Good solid chance this is an incurable genetic ailment that will never go away. But their advice is to wait. So, yeah, I've just had a week of severe joint pain, doing everything from standing to holding my phone to walking. But wait, yeah, that's oh boy. So there's a little bit of good news though, which is that Garmer is a hair away, effectively, from being fully ready to run. And in the mean moment, that means that my desk is a complete shambles, because I have had to set up a brand new monitor today, so everything is everywhere, the whole thing is a mess, and oh dear. But Garmer is not currently operational at this exact moment, so basically, ordinarily, the main monitor that you are seeing here is visible chiefly to like 45 degrees to my left. Gives me a nice looking at the content kind of angle that I like for streams. Right now that is a black monitor because that is Garmer's monitor. That's the only monitor on Garmer while we set things up. And the actual main monitor over here is 90 degrees to my left. So I'm going to be doing some very weird angles today, just letting you know. But despite being in immense pain this past week, I have in fact managed to make some progress. So let's have a look. I've got 2 main things to show off. 3, I think, in total, but 2 main things. One of which I've been having an unreasonable amount of fun with, because, well, you'll figure it out when you see it, I guess. Okay, so here is our testing pillager. Previously, I had to beat the ever-loving heck out of him using a non-lethal only weapon for us to test unconscious bodies. Now, I can just run this command. As you can see, there's the occasional bug. I'm not sure exactly how this is happening, but yeah, we can now just knock people out indiscriminately, like that. It's pretty sweet. I think there's still some slight bug with regards to how the mob is the body is detecting if the mob is dead and whatnot, or unconscious as the case may be. But yeah, where's an axe? Give me an axe before we have 2 of these guys. There we go. But he'll wake up. He's been given the absolute most amount of bludgeoning damage he possibly could be, but he'll get back up in a little bit. Just as an easy way to actually test unconscious bodies. So, yeah, look at that. Have a button. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, you're fine. You're fine. He barely healed enough to stand up, and then I punched him again. Gotta love bludgeoning damage. It's so entertaining. Can I help you? You doing good, fella? You doing good in here? Yeah. Okay. This guy doesn't have a name yet. Ish. There's a registration name. There's like all sorts of things, but there's no actual like in-game name for them, because this particular oddity replicates a particular creature that is heavily under Wizards of the Coast copyright. The only other game, I believe, that is even remotely as old as Dungeons & Dragons that has this particular creature is Final Fantasy. But TLDR, these creatures are extremely evil brain eaters that look like certain fish, like sea creatures. Not fish, I think they're different families of fish, but nonetheless. Ours are a little bit different, partially because I think it's cooler, and partially to avoid potential copyright, because, well, there's a reason this guy isn't in the SRD. So, if I knock you out, yeah, you worked out just fine. It must be a latency issue. Yeah, we could just grab that head out of you. And oh look, there are eyes on the body now. There's also tendrils where the head was there. It's actually a little bit more complicated even under the hood when he has a head. But basically, in the campaign setting that we are describing with various oddities, these creatures, whom shall presently be referred to as deep things for brevity, are still parasitic, but instead of just using the brain, they steal your entire head. Contents of cavity and all. So, you can think of them more or less as being like squid upside down. Wait, they are them. There's also a little bit of a, there is a little bit of, what we call this, a little bit of like Guardian style, the eyes follow you. They're a little wonky, but we're working on it. Yeah, you can think of these as being like squids upside down. So this whole section is actually more like their head, and then you've got the two tentacles, and you've got the actual arms, or actually, is it arms then? Squid have 2 of one and then 6 of the other, and heck if I remember which is which. What do I look like? A marine biologist. But yeah. So they start out as a like little spawn, and they take over the entire body, and from there, all they need is the skull. Where these little like tentacles, we'll call them for the time being, like up the neck, up the neck and the esophagus, and just sort of like puppets from there. And they can use. I've planned that they'll be able to use most of their magical abilities only when they have a skull. But an additional wrinkle to this is that they are already programmed somewhat similarly to armor stands. So if you deal enough damage to the head region, you will actually knock whatever head they're wearing clean off. And then they'll be in this state. But in the meantime, they have their little noggin and whatnot going on. And they will recognize any kind of skull. That is, any kind of player skull, any kind of wither, skeleton, zombie, creeper skull, whatsoever. It'll be interesting if these guys become basically a way of theoretically creating a skull farm. You just sort of like routinely feed things to them, but we'll see how that goes down the line. These guys are extremely preliminary at this exact moment. There is one last little detail to show off though. Once he stands back up, actually, I can probably show it while he's on the ground here. It's a little harder, but yep, there is in fact a brain inside of here, connected to one of the tentacles. Just sort of bobs around whilst they have a head. So if you manage to actually like stare somehow into their skull, or whatever they're currently using for one, there is in fact a brain in here. Which is pretty sweet. I like that detail. It's extremely hard to tell, but it's in there nonetheless. So yes, we got the knockout command, we've got the deep things. There is one last thing I have been working on this past week, and that is stealth. So, stealth in vanilla Minecraft is extremely limited, by which I mean it more or less amounts to, do you have the invisibility status effects? Or are you wearing one of a small handful of mobs' skulls? Which reduces their thing a bit more. And how much armor you're wearing does factor into it, but for the most part, it's not worth even remotely investigating, because it's so hard and it rarely works against everything you need to work against. So, here I have a pillager. And here I have a skeleton. Now, the way that these two creatures deal, like, are distinct, is that this one is undead. That one is humanoid. And that means that this one has dark vision, and hence always has the night vision effect, and that one doesn't. So I have managed to mostly implement dark, like light level based stealth. There's still a few things that need working on it, but if we set time to midnight, where it is now very dark, and I go into survival mode, I think if I remember this correctly, it's F3 and 4. Yep, there we go. Okay, here's me. No special deals relating to this. I will turn on my dark vision so you guys can see a bit better. Okay. So if I get to here, you will notice the pillager isn't shooting at me. Not even a little. I can actually just like hang out here, just happy as can be. He has no clue I'm here because it is so dark that to him, he can't see me. Skeleton, meanwhile, do not care. Skeleton is immediately on attack because the skeleton has night vision and hence my being in darkness does not help me one iota. Now this is, the way all of this calculates is that this is cumulative. So if you have invisibility going on, if you're wearing the right skull, if you're not wearing any armor, and the opponent doesn't have night vision and it's pitch black, then you're basically undetectable. Whereas right now I'm completely in mischievous, as it were, and I should note also that sneaking does affect this a bit by vanilla standards. Not very much, but a bit. But yeah, so I can sneak pretty much right up. Whoop, he spotted me now. But I got so far enough away, I merged back in with the darkness very quickly that he actually like lost track of me. Again, so he has no idea I'm here. I can just happily close that up. Perfectly safe. I need to do a little QC. It feels like it should... It feels too easy to escape back into the darkness. Like, he should probably, like, actually go to where he last saw me at the very least to try and continue finding me. If that fails, then he'll, like, actually lose track of me. But... or maybe he should just like go on a quick patrol around where he last saw me, that kind of thing. I guess depends on their like how smart given mob is meant to be. But yeah, so this also works with regards to effects like tremor sense, as well as blind sight and blind sense. If the opponent has been given the glowing status effect by any means, then they will also like still be detected. So basically, blind mobs don't care about the light level, in short. It's also worth noting that this glow is entirely client-side, so it's not actually active on the server. So consequently, there's nothing there for them to worry about. But if we set the time back to noon, then I can open it up. I can open this up and get shot. Yep, because now he can actually see me because it's bright sunlight. What that does basically is just it gives us a bit more option with how we approach given combat scenarios, because most dungeons are undead based. I believe arthropods like the spiders also happen to have dark vision, but this gives the wonderful like just straight up vanilla possibility of finding a pillager outpost and sneaking into it under the cover of night to loot whatever's there, or just like steadily like knocking them off as you like move further into the complex, that kind of thing, rather than doing what I've definitely done on more than one occasion, which is fight enough of them to constitute a small country, and end up being just overrun because every single one of them within a 5-mile radius has spotted me. But yeah, so this gives us a not necessarily more powerful, but alternative combat route, which is great. I love that. And Minecraft's laissez-faire approach to combat, especially like stealth for combat, it's kind of irked me for a long while. Like, why implement it at all if you're not going to do like a decent job of it, really? Granted, it is extremely old code, but more or less this actually means that invisibility potions can have a reliable benefit. So yay. So let me see, all undead, so that is husks, strays, drowned, zombies, zombie villagers, skeletons, wither skeletons, all the undead can see you in the dark. Slimes, of which I believe there is only one species, can see you regardless, but only within about 16 blocks, because that is the range of their blind sight. So, choose your poison, really. Constructs like the golems can also see you in the dark, but they don't have blind sight, so you can try to sneak into a village if indeed you've somehow angered them and an iron golem is after you. that kind of thing. It also means raids at night, like fighting pillager raids. Oh, that's gonna get much more interesting. I guess this does now mean I need to implement some form of the sneak attack ability from rogues, so that if a mob or a person, whatever, can't see you, then you deal extra damage. That kind of thing. But yeah, one particular thing I have been thinking about very recently is grappling. So, in 3.5, which is effectively like the main standard of what I use for deciding how this whole mod should work, 3.5 is a lot, to say the least. Let's see, combat index. There's grapple. This is... that is all that happens and that you can do if you are grappled. And I will never fault 3.5 for being thorough, but it is a lot of text. And one thing I really don't like about this whole thing is that first, it's a full-step process to getting involved in a grapple. Secondly, every single thing in this, or almost every single thing, every single option you have when you are grappling or being grappled, requires an opposed, dice roll. Which is to say that depending on how big and strong your opponent is, they basically just get to say you don't get to play the video game anymore. And that is... That is not fun. As an ideal, even a penalty should feel fun. It should feel interesting. It should feel like a puzzle to solve. It should feel like something that you can get out of if you're savvy enough, that kind of thing. That's the way mechanics should generally be. But this... There's a reason people generally did not grapple inside of 3.5. But for the deep things, we need to figure it out because it's kind of their main thing. They get into melee range, and then they just rip your head off after a little bit. But yeah, this is... Oi, there's a lot going here. And it's like, okay, it'd be really interesting if you could, drag your opponent in the grapple around. That'd be fun. It'd be really handy if you could, continue to, damage your opponent whilst things are going on, or even use their weapon against them, that kind of thing. Grappling somebody who has a better sword than you, and then using that sword against them, that's really cool. That's fun. That gives people a good reason to actually get into grapples and such, outside of just... well, more or less sleeper holding villagers and dragging them away. Or knocking out a pillager and stealing his crossbow. But this is a lot, and it does not translate very well to actually, doing basically real time inside of Minecraft. 4th edition feels like it was at the end of a deadline, because it's written, but it actually isn't entirely clear to me, even if it slows you down. The 4th edition rules were not made very well. It's quite notoriously bad. Then there is 5th edition. 5th edition is the most recent. I think they're moving to a 5.5. I'm not 100% certain. Most recent version of D&D, and it is leaps and bounds better than 4th edition was, whilst still being considerably more streamlined than 3rd edition and 3.5 edition. So, it defines grappling as a condition. So think of it like a status effect. And in that, you do have to make some opposed rolls, a handful, 2 or 3, usually only when you're trying to actively escape the grapple. And it's the same one as when you actually start the grapple, so really easy, really simple to figure that out code-wise. And then it is just, whoever is being grappled has 0 movement, whoever is grappling has 50% movement, so you move at half speed and you drag the other person with you. And it's grand. It's really clear. It's really simple. It converts, it translates to a real-time game very easily. We can make that work quite happily. My concern, though, is if the only thing that grappling does, for the most part, is nerf your opponent's movement by 100%, like, sure, they can't move anymore, but also you're stuck in melee range of them, players might not really use that, generally. They can still hoodwink villagers, sure, fine. They can hoodwink sheep if they wish by grappling them, but I need there to be sufficient mechanical incentive for players to actually use this, especially when they're on their own. There is not really much point to actually, like, grappling, say, a zombie, because, well, the zombie's already going to eat your face anyway in melee range anyways, so it's not really meaningful. And, like, skeletons will also... Skeleton accuracy gets higher as they are closer to you, so you also don't really have much reason to grapple a skeleton, or to, like, if the only thing that changes is their movement speed, there's not really any reason to grapple anything in single player, in solo play. There's maybe a little bit more in multiplayer if we suggest that grappling a creature doesn't change its attack target to you, meaning that it will continue to try and attack the thing that it was previously attacking rather than necessarily you. So that could be useful, but under most circumstances, the thing being grappled is probably going to want to try and hurt you to incapacitate you to stop the grapple. So I need to think of ways to actually make it a little bit more valuable, more worthwhile to grapple things. And it shouldn't necessarily be a case of, oh, well, you just always open with a grapple and use that. It's a matter of, like, situation. Like, what is there an ability or something that a target is using that it won't be able to use under a grapple, in which case I should grapple it, that kind of thing. A suggestion that came in from Blue, I think is currently doing art on stream, is item use could be limited. What I could do is keep the item inside of your offhand permanently on cooldown, for instance, the presumption being that you've always got one arm just like trying to shove a dude away from you in the midst of the grapple. And then I could also make it that you can't use items whilst you're in a grapple. So you're like struggling to get somebody away, even if it only takes one hand to like pop the cork on a potion and down it. That they're right there and fully present and able to like prevent you from drinking it. You can't like in that case you can't use a bow, you can't reload a crossbow, you can't use a shield in your main hand. All sorts of things come into play then. Suddenly it's much more powerful. It's a little harder to work with on the case of mobs, because mobs don't use the use action. But in PvP, it becomes suddenly glorious. It becomes very fun. Because now if there's somebody who has, like, built their, like, loadout on potions and on food items like golden apples and on shields and on ranged weapons, suddenly you have a way of locking them down if you can get close enough and if you're okay with subjecting yourself to what little melee they have. It will still be the majority of melee, but it's a fair bit. So this is the tweet that is currently on my Twitter, twitter.com/lyingofemon. Go check it out. It's from 19 hours ago. It's not much on my channel. It's not much on my feed. And let me know what you think. But tonight we are working on another step of getting bodies to full completion. This is basically the last detail we have to do mandatorily before the next version comes out. I will probably do a nice little showcase video on bodies because I think they probably deserve a little bit of explanation. I don't think there's anything hostile out here that will attack me if I go into survival mode, as I will need to be because knockout does not work against creative mode players. There we go. Okay. So, step 1, be unconscious. Step 2, be able to access our own body. You can't do that if you're unconscious. So, also I should be actually, like, limited to being in the same position as my unconscious body, but that's something for a little bit later. That's a thing we need to figure out. Yeah. Fairly easy. So let's just go, and check that out. I believe... Let's see, there's open container. Where does that go? I'm gonna have a cramp in my neck by the time the stream's done, aren't I? Hey, Sol. How you doing? I think it's interact with and interact on, maybe? Is that where we have this? There's mix-in, I believe, that handles it to prevent us from accessing our own body. Because if you could access, say, your own dead body, then if you happen to have been carrying, like, a quest item or something that was heavily important to the person that kills you, you could just access your body and grab it, and then it's suddenly in an incorporeal state that nobody can access or, like, do anything about. At least until you respawn. So, generally speaking, we want to make it that if you're in that sort of midpoint state, that disembodied state, if you will, then you can't interact with anything. But for the purposes of testing this without a second account online, we'll make an exception. Okay. Yeah, let's check the mix-in. It's either player entity mix-in, collide, trigger, sense, nope, not that, or it is the controller. Where are you? Server, play, net, handler. Process action. Nope, not that one. Where on earth did I put this? Movement input? Nope, doesn't seem to be used here. Minecraft. Sure. Oh, hang on, I know exactly where I can figure this out. Player data. If we get the condition soul, we should be able to figure it out. Needed some background noise? Okay. In-game GUI, process keybinds. Send wake up packet if, oh, that's just a, like, inventory key. That's not quite what we're looking for, but we're getting close. Let's see, player body asleep. Player, yeah, that should basically do it. That does not seem to deal with our being unconscious. Normal function? Is there a not for that somewhere? See, if player is not normal function, or is creative or spectator, then return. Okay. That might be it. If we get rid of that, are we able to access our own body? Because the thing we're going to be doing here is accessing a player's body, provided that they're online, should cause you to be able to access their actual main inventory. It'll give you a different screen than we usually have when we're dealing with corpses and such. So it'll be a matter of, if you knock somebody out, say such as using non-lethal damage like a sap or something else, then you can access their unconscious body. That's a sentence I'm going to be saying a lot tonight. You can get not just their armor and their held items, but also you can get their entire hotbar, their entire main inventory. You can rob them blind, which I think people will greatly enjoy. I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely abusable. But also, if you're in a party and one of your players gets knocked out by any means, then you can retrieve the health potions for the party off of their unconscious body. So, yeah, you know, there's not nothing, and I appear to be gone. That's interesting. We evidently have some persistence issues. there a mention in here? What happened? Not that I can see. That's curious. We don't despawn the body then. Well, wake up. There we go. Okay. Knock me out again. Okay, can I... Okay, so it wasn't that. It wasn't that ability. What was it then? What is creating this problem? So the greater question is the body actually, like, actively preventing it by itself? That's GUI, that's entity predicates. There was a thing for displaying a GUI in here, wasn't there? Oh, it's just actually displaying a GUI. Okay. Curtail HUD when abnormal. Oh, I love that. Okay, so what is making this happen? Is it literally just the body? Does the body just not allow it? I know that there are things in entities that are like when you interact with them. You just need to remember where on earth I put this. Game settings. Nope. In-game GUI. Why not? No, that's still just rendering. Or is it? No, I think it's still just rendering. Okay. Living entity. Doesn't seem to be an interact in here. No, that looks fine. Process vital keys. Can we check this? No. Movement inputs. Only affects when dazed. Player entity. We don't seem to have anything going on in here. Server world? Nope. I've logically gotta be messing with it somewhere, or else it would work just fine right now. So what's going on? Let's check if creative or spectator is used anywhere. Process keybinds, we definitely already checked. That looks fine. Can I just search the entire file structure for the word interact? There's the question. Apparently, very little does. Okay. Right. There's gotta be an interact in here, in the entity code somewhere. Process initial interacts. What happens? Mob entity does some stuff. I don't think. Yeah, we're not a... The bodies aren't a mob, so that doesn't make sense. Interact on from player entity. How about that? Player controller. Process use entity. Hello. Process entity action. Nope, it's not that. There's no player controller mix-in. So where does that get go? And right-click mouse under Minecraft. Where does right-click mouse get called? We're getting close to the root here. In-process keybinds. Okay. Which we are currently overriding in here, because we are cancelling it. Okay. So, if I comment out that whole block, we were on the right track, we just slightly missed a piece. We should now be able to come back and interact with our own body. Lay hands on self, in short. Oh boy. Now, a slight problem that I suspect will come up is that player inventory is handled very selectively. Unless it is something that is literally visible to another player, so for instance your armor or what item you're holding, basically no part of another player's inventory is visible to everybody else. That information is just not sent. So this might behave differently in a client situation. We may have to test this in server a little bit, but I may just have to make an object that is constantly tracked. It is constantly synced to both the owner of the body and whoever is tinkering with it, and just see what happens. But first, let's make sure I can actually lay hands on self. I might be wrong about that, because inventories are a weirdness in Minecraft. Everyone always knows what's in every chest, for instance, but they don't know what's in another player. It's weird. Right. Knockouts. Interacts. Goods. If I plonk that there, I'm curious. I might wake up with it. I'm not sure. We'll have one way to finding out. If I end up with a if I end up with a bucket of milk in my offhand, we know some part of this works. I don't seem to have one right now, but I wonder if I should turn up the rate of unconsciousness receding kind of thing. I feel like you should probably also not be blind, which is a distinct thing in this mod, but I feel like you should have the blindness effect whilst you're in this kind of state. Feels like you shouldn't be able to see much. Okay, I have hacked some stuff up because I can't access my inventory because that whole thing isn't stopping now. But I don't appear to have my offhand, so there's that. Noted. In fact, for the purposes of this, I think basically everything else needs to just go. I'm not sure. Well, anyways, we want to actually be able to interact like that, so let's just get rid of that. Alright. Okay, so first step done. We've been able to access our own unconscious body. Step 2. Create a different object, a different container for unconscious players. That is going to require the full armor list, which is 4 items, your offhand, which is another item, and then more than a single chest. 4 rows of 9, that's 36 extra slots. That's a total of 41 slots of storage. Oh god. It's gonna be big. So let me just create here container player body. Yeah, that'll suffice for the time being. And we'll just basically clone everything from in here for the most part right now. This is one of those things that is categorically not going to be pretty initially, but here we go. I think that's fine. Okay, for the moment. Need a new container for this. Nope, there we go. We don't have detail in here for that just yet. But we can. Oh wait, no we can't because they reworked how containers work. So we need a new GI, a new GUI for this. Go. That seems to be good. Okay, so now when our unconscious body creates the thing, it needs player body instead of regular body. Otherwise, it just creates the regular mob one. Okay. Soul should equal null if the player isn't online, which means if you are unconscious on a server and you log out, your body should stick around. Ours clearly aren't for the moment, but we'll figure that in a moment. Figure that in a little bit. Basically, people just won't be able to tamper with your inventory whilst you're offline. Fairly straightforward there. It's partially because we won't have access to it. It's very deep inside the code that I can't access. And then just partially so that they can't theoretically grief you a whole ton if you, like, if we implement a feature where players that log out are unconscious where they were, then people could rob you whilst you're offline, and that's not very nice. I think we should maintain some degree of the sanctity of vanilla. This shouldn't become this shouldn't become fantasy rust. But anyways, I'm gonna go grab a snack. I'll be back in about 10 minutes. Go grab yourselves a drink, and I'll see you then. Welcome back, everybody, to this relatively slightly significantly more scuffed stream than usual. And tonight we are working on making a means to access another player's inventory. In this case, our own, but in future, somebody else's. So, we now have a custom separate container that is used specifically by unconscious player bodies. So now we need to actually add more slots to it than it currently has, because right now it only accepts one player's inventory. But we're working on this, so yeah. Let's see, there is from network, and the slots are added right here from the body inventory. And oh, my brain is slipping already. I have to try and figure out exactly how to fill this in. Likelybody.getInventory. Yes, that is our initial problem here. Okay. So we need to talk to that and ask it for a different inventory in the event that this is actually, like, running for an unconscious player. I think. Let's see, player body. If likely body does not equal null, and likely body dot soul, I believe it is. Get soul does not equal null, and likely body dot is player, which is to say, is there a player, like, is it a player's body, and can we actually identify that player? If so, then we need to get soul. And then get that as a player entity. And get their inventory. Not the render chest, that's a very different thing. Armor inventory, arrow count. Is there just an inventory thing here? Yes, there is, player inventory. Okay. Which counts as an inventory, so that's fine by us. Alright. So that means we now have two separate player inventories coming in. Okay. And now I need to try and remember exactly how this works. Because it is not clear most of the time. Let's see, player inventory, that we can leave as it currently is. That already gives us access to our main inventory and our hotbar. The slots for the armor, which is most of these, it has to be said, we need to reduce the X coordinate so that it moves to the left. Because it shouldn't be a matter that you access somebody's unconscious body and you can't remove their armor. There's so many things I need to be careful about saying on this stream tonight, dear God. Oh, I am programming utter debauchery. Okay. I mean, I don't know why I'm terribly surprised. I've programmed many ways to just murder people outright. Why is this the creepiest thing? Okay, right. Numbers at the end there are 62 and 0. Those indicate the x coordinates. So they're currently in. I think 0 will put it on the far left side alongside all the other slots of the player inventory. 102 plus, oh, that's the y coordinate, 8 plus k1. Okay, so if we say 0, we'll see what they end up. Assuming I'm changing the right thing. Let's see, empty boots, armor slot, yes, one of these has the actual, like, shield. Let's just see what that ends up. Okay, so let's see. Player entity. Get soul. Or I should just soul is right there. Hooray. Soul dot inventory. There. Makes that happier. Yep, there, okay. Now, because this is using the original, slot values of exactly where in the inventory it's getting these things from, it is not going to be pointing at our actual armor, currently. But we're just trying to figure out exactly where to put these slots, so that's our start. Okay, so let's put on a hat. Let's see, let's get ourselves a diamond helmet. Why not? There we go. And a shield. Makes sense, I guess. There. For a fight. Now we are ready for fight. And now let's knock ourselves out again. Thankfully, I made a version of this command that doesn't actually take any variables. So when you enter it, when you just say /knockout, you basically just punch yourself in the face. A little convenient. Okay, so we can see it's wearing it. Okay, very good, very good. Slots do not appear to have moved in the slightest degree. So we've hacked something up here. Simple named container, container player body. It does read as dev, so that's good. But what's gonna happen in a hot minute when he wakes up? And moreover, why did that not seem to move the slots around? Yeah, there's no other slots unless they're up here somewhere. Nope. We should see them based on this outline, which is rendered over where the slot is. What did I forget with the containers? Ah, container body, container player body. That's probably it. That's probably literally the one thing I forgot. Always the case. Always the case. And I think that's everything. Yes? Okay. Do I still have my... I don't have my helmet. Interesting enough. I have my shield. I don't have my helmets. Very curious. But that might be irrelevant because it used the wrong container. We'll see. Also gotta be really careful here about potentially creating a duplication glitch. Because if multiple people are interacting with the same player's inventory, so where does x coordinate 0 put us? Plonk that there, and grab another helmet. Okay, there's me. And there is definitely elements of our inventory right there, and that's where that ends up. Okay, gonna have to put a little bit of English on that, but I think we're good. I also note that because our offhand isn't actually registered in this whole thing, we don't have an offhand slot. There is a slot with the offhand logo on it, but not actually our actual offset. Okay, that is fine. Okay, so decrease that by like 10. It'll be overkill, but we just want to actually get some space here. Hey Gam, how you doing? Okay. So now we effectively want to repeat this whole process, but for the inventory we've been given, the new inventory. Because this is irrelevant. We can just X out this for the moment. And we need to adjust these values so that it's not purely overlaying the exact same thing. Popped in from work, got some leather beef stew. Ooh, very nice. Okay. So it's not free, not mine, goods. And we are going to have this start at 0 for its y coordinate rather than 102. And then it's 3 times 8. Well, we can hang on. We just do some quick math here. So 142 minus 102 over 3. It's about 13 each. So let's see. 18 times 3 pull. 18, 36, 54. 54 plus an extra. 72. I think. As long as it always ends up lower than this, I guess. Actually, that might be drastically lower than that, but it's fine. And we'll keep it at the 8s. Those are, having it outlined makes sense. Am I not woken up? Oh no, I don't wake up automatically as well. Okay, and my diamond helmet has unequipped. That's a good sign. Because it was in a different slot in the body. So it ended up in a different slot of my inventory. That's a good sign. That means we might not have to do quite as much to get this working. But okay, let's try adding a buttload of slots here. Now bear in mind, we're just using bludgeoning damage to knock myself out here. There are more than one way to like knock somebody out. A sleep effect, for instance. those can keep people asleep for like minutes at a time. Okay. We are once again equipped. These slots shouldn't be visible, so let's just unequip them, and remember that arrangement. I sure as heck won't. But okay, as we can see, everything is rock and rolling. Very good. Okay, so... And there's the other one, right there. So I gave it too high a number, but it's pretty close. We do definitely need to increase from 0, because apparently that is much too high. But that is our main inventory. If I move this... hey! Look at that. As I move this around, it moves around with it. But that's possibly because your player is the only one that's receiving all the data of what's in your inventory. So, who knows? Who knows? But that is very good. Okay. Move that like a step lower. Move this much higher. And then we should be more or less on target. I believe. Oh, it's minus 18. That's why. That's why that's a slot higher. Okay, so 18, 36, 54. Give it a 54, 62. Yeah, it should be 72, but that's clearly much too high. 18 times 4. Actually, no, it starts at 0, so it is 54. And my inventory is exactly as we left it there. Good! Very good. Okay. Need the armor. Which I guess we get to literally call body armor. Okay, player container will have the exact slots we want. For the armor slots. Yep, there they are. Everything in here looks fine. Yeah, we just have to point this to be the... Wait, we just have to point this to the exact starting coordinates, which is fairly straightforward, I think, for this. Yeah. Okay. There. Oh yes, a number of the channel point rewards are turned off today. They are the ones that involve me doing exercise. Not because y'all shouldn't be making me do exercise, you very much should be making me do more. It's just that, well, right now standing up hurts, and standing hurts, and walking hurts, and holding my arm aloft hurts. So, privy mercy, I guess. Where is player in this argument? Ah, that's the wrong player. Guess we call that player 2. But we are going to need the armor slot textures array. empty armor slot boots. Okay, these thankfully are public. I don't know why these are private then, but Minecraft is a strange creature sometimes. There. Okay. So that will generate them, but at the wrong location. So we need, starting at I1 times 18. Bear in mind, we still have 4 slots here, so it should be the same height. We need to, let's see, get rid of that, so it's k times 18. 0, 1 to 3. And then minus 18, I think. Minus 18. Or no, it'll be minus 10. Okay. Should mean we have our entire inventory, our main inventory, our hotbar, and our and as well as our actual armor slots, not our offhand weapon, visible on the one screen. Now, there is a caveat here, which is that you will not be able to meddle with somebody's curios. They're what were they called earlier? Baubles. You won't be able to reach in and steal someone's item magnet. You won't be able to reach in and steal someone's cosmetics, that kind of thing. As creepy as hell as it'd be to steal someone's tail while they're knocked out. That's organ harvester kind of stuff right there. Jesus. But you will be able to modify the rest of their inventory. Like their main vanilla inventory. Okay, block that there. Let's get some boots in this equation. Just 'cause I like having boots on. There we go. And we'll stick a grass block right there, just so we know that line works. Knockout! Okay, we don't have our armor in here, I note. Is that still... No, it's pointed at the body inventory, as it should be. It's pointing to player 2, as it should be. So, it's also definitely aligned properly. Very good. So why aren't we seeing our armor? Is it because it's been unequipped by the body? I think it is, because that's why the body is rendering with it. Okay, right, well that solves that mystery. And I can move this around. And it is reflected immediately inside of the unconscious body. Oh, I love it. Just gonna plonk that there. Yeah. Okay, but I don't have that back. Okay, right. So, we need to know what equipment is actually in here. We need to not unequip it for unconscious players and reference it to the players, excepting when they're offline, at which point we then need to have it as like a last cached knowledge kind of thing. So it's like, here's what they looked like with their gear when they were last online, that kind of thing. But okay, for the moment, we can at least just settle for having it render with what it is. So... we're not using get inventory at the moment, but I think we need to override how we retrieve what the body is wearing. I don't need most of these open. Okay. Set the body, that part's fine. Create body from. Yep. That looks fine. Now where we handle the inventory? If not, player's body asleep on kill, then it kills itself. That's fairly normal for what we have right now. There's online and non-unconscious remove button. Yeah. Okay. Where? Oh, where? That's just the game? Because does the game profile include equipment? I wonder. I don't actually know. That could be handy to know. It does not seem to. Okay. Has properties. What are the properties, exactly? Any known properties about this game file? Does anything use that? Just the skill. Okay. That was worth looking. Was worth looking. Okay. Aha. Set body. There you are. Okay. So there's the armor drop chances. There's the armor actual, like, retrieval. So yeah, living set, item stuck, slots, equipment slots, different hands. Yeah, there it is. That's also why our shield went missing, because it got unequipped to the body. But because we're unconscious, we need to not do that. So let's see, how do I tell it to not do that? If steals gear, I guess we could call this particular. And then we just say false to that. That should mean that it skips that chunk whenever it creates the body, so it will not unequip our stuff. It will also mean it no longer renders with it, but one step at a time here. I'm gonna have a hell of a crooked my neck at the end of the stream, jeez. I just spent I'm basically spending 3 hours staring directly to my left. It's like, why can't I do anything? Answer, because my hand is off of home row. Okay, so we're once again bedecked. And here I am getting decked. Okay, no armor on the body, but we can see it inside of the inventory. Grand and good. Okay, we still need to add a slot for the offhand for shields and the like, but now I actually have it in here. Okay, so next step is add the offhand slot. After that, we need to test this in multiplayer. And ideally we need to figure out a way to test this on somebody else's body. I might just have to export what I have currently, like compile it, and then ship it out. Not to Curseforge or anything, and just like have a single player world that I can open to LAN. Oh god, I can't do that, come to think of it. Because I'm still having so much trouble migrating my main account, so the only account I have access to is RememberCam. Oh. Oh well. Okay, main question. Do we still have our equipment on when we wake up? Yes, we do. If I knock myself out and take off that equipment. On the other hand, it would also be nice to actually have, like, a highlight of which slot is currently their selected slot, but just wait for us to be able to wake up. Oh, I look so peaceful, so comfy. With my left leg embedded in the soil. Any moment now. Reminder, you have the option of when to actually wake up under most circumstances. It's rarely an instantaneous thing, because if it was just an instantaneous thing, there would be no opportunity for you to get out of situations where, for instance, a husk with a sap that never breaks is just stood right next to you. Because you get the option to wake up as soon as you are able to wake up. So if you wake up instantaneously, the husk hits you instantaneously, and you then take more bludgeoning damage and fall back to sleep. So the option of when to wake up on your own accord is there so that you can wait for it to wander off, so you actually have more of an opportunity to flee from it or such. Okay, and that is unequipped. Great. Okay. So now we just need to add that quick little offhand slot. Let's go for this body offhand slot. So player container includes just such a slot. So where is that? There you are. And it is slot 40. So this dot add slot body inventory. Oh, that's good. New slot. Slot 40. We want this to be at minus 28, I guess. It's not great to go into the negatives on these, but it also mostly doesn't matter. So, meh. Let's see. 18 puts it at chest level. That's all the variables we need. But let's also set the background. To empty armor slot shield. That should give us all of the slots we are the least bit interested in. So if the player is online, we need to use their equipment rather than we need to render their equipment rather than just using whatever the body has. If they are not online, we need to have the body remember the last things that they were wearing. These will not be things that drop when the body is killed. There's another question: what happens if you kill the unconscious body while somebody's offline or such? Do I just make player unconscious bodies immortal while they're offline? There's a thought. What do we think, chat? That is a situation with some substantial implications. It's like, on the one hand, I don't want it to become basically fantasy Rust. On the other hand, your body being immortal whilst you're offline... I mean, it only wakes up when you tell it to wake up, and you only get the option to tell it to wake up when your stats go down. So it won't just vanish because you're like suddenly able to wake up again. But if there's no body, you can't be bound to the body, so you can wander wherever whilst you're unconscious. Can't interact with anything, mind you, but you can just wander everywhere and nothing will be able to attack you. So it's probably a bad thing if your body ceases to exist for any reason whilst you're offline. Mildly okay if your body is dead, because then you're a soul, and that makes a degree of sense. Not a huge amount, but a degree. Yeah, I should probably make a caveat there, I think. Anyways, stick a shield in our offhand. We've got equipment here, so basically same as before. We should now have our offhand visible here. Okay, very good, very good. We can now actually unequip this, move it around, and re-equip it because it's our inventory. Which technically means we now have access actually to slots we normally wouldn't have with a chest. That, and this is more than a chest of space. But okay. I don't remember. There we go. That's the slot I was on. How do we indicate which slot of the hotbar this particular player had in use at the time? That is a question, because we can't just reset what slot of the hotbar the player was using. I suppose we can get the item that they're holding, scan their inventory, or at least their hotbar line, for it, and from there identify what hotbar slot they were scrolled up to. There is that possibility. That's a little convoluted, but it's nonetheless there. But okay, so we weren't wielding a Neverite sword before, but we are now. we have successfully manipulated our inventory whilst unconscious. That's good. Via interacting with our unconscious body, to be clear. Otherwise, like, if I wanted you to be able to manipulate your inventory whilst you're unconscious, I could just allow you to access your inventory while you're unconscious. But things rearranging themselves as though by, like, telekinesis whilst you're knocked out is it's a weird notion, actually. It'd be interesting if you could do that if you had, like, the telekinesis spell active, but not a thing we're currently after. But okay. So let's see, what's the next step here? I think it is making the unconscious body render properly. Okay. A little bit of render magic. So let's add a private final non-null list items stack. Call it last known equipment. With size 4. Fill that pipe stack empty. Which apparently doesn't exist for some reason. Oh, because we haven't imported pipe stack, that's right. Okay. So every ticket fills that, and that gets stored inside of its actual data, but it doesn't care what the actual... It's not wearing that, it's just referenced whenever the player is offline. Okay. Where's your tick? Here's your tick. Okay, if soul does not equal null, then we need to be continually updating this inside of the body. It's not equal null and not remote, which is to say make it so that we're actually definitively on the server for the moment. Okay. For entity equipment slot in entity equipment slot dot values. Have I got that right? No, apparently I don't. Okay, what is it? Equipment slot type. That's what it was made to. There you are. Okay. Values? You'd think they'd have like some subtypes, but apparently not. Okay, can I get them by group? From slot and index. Apparently not. Okay. So let's see. For int slot equals 0, slot is lower than 4, slot is plus, item stack equipped equals sol get item stack from slot equipment slot type dot let's see, that would be equipment slot type dot group dot armor with that slots. Okay, and then we want to set that to last known equipments slot set slot equipped copy, because those are static objects, item stacks, so if we just put the same thing, it could be weird. But, okay. So as long as the server is able to find the player's soul of a given unconscious body, it is constantly making sure that this particular array knows what that player was wearing. So as soon as the player logs out, this should actually know exactly what was there. I'm just going to rename that to armor real quick. Last known armor. And create another one for that instance. Last known hands. I guess this would make more sense as last known equip. Wave size 2. Item stack dot empty. Slot equals 0, slot is lower than 2, slot is plus, same again. We're just changing the group we're using and where it is going. Okay. So, for our renderer, we don't want to just be overriding the stuff that the we don't want to just be overriding the stuff that is being received, because if we override what's the if we override the get item stack from slots function inside of the body, it'll store that when it comes time to actually storing it as MPT data, in which case we'll then have a duplication problem, because if you theoretically destroy the body at that point, it should drop that stuff. I think what actually happens is the body despawns itself, respawns the person if they're there, and then the person is insta-killed, but it's fine. Anyways, so... firstly, we need to store last known equipment inside of the actual data. So, where is our... nope, don't see a right. There's the right. And what? Read and write. Why do I have this part? So, yes, I can give it a... If I feed this a non-null list, make this much easier. Where does this get used? Oh, and look, it's giving me a little treat. Oh, thank you. I've had a very rough week, and I appreciate this little treat. Oh, nice fudge, my favorite. On inventory changed and right conditional. Okay, fine by me. So every time the inventory changes, that gets called. So we can have that handle the items that are actually being worn. Which I can get inventory. It's... I'm trying to think, it's probably possible, maybe best, I don't know here. Probably best not to do that, but we can overload it. Okay, so where is right inventory to empty? There you are. That doesn't need to be want to be static, but the next thing can be. And then we need inventory, I think, of armor, and inventory of hands. Bag, I guess, will be the other one. Okay. What is... This is just grabbing it from, like, straight from there. Specified by get stack and slot in inventory. Okay, so those do qualify. I can just give it the... Ooh. Okay, this will be trickier to overload than I thought, but we can handle it. But you may come back from break seeing this. Just be the bag. Okay. I will catch you all in about 10 minutes when we come back from break. So go grab yourselves a little snack, go grab yourselves a drink, take your meds, if you have any to take, and we'll be back then to finish this off. Well, maybe not 100% finish this off because we do not have time for textures, but see you then.
I'm hypnotized.
Right, folks, welcome to the final hour of our evening tonight, and so far, so good. We've created a special version of the unconscious body that has a massive inventory for specifically players that is only accessible whilst they're actually online, and we've now got it so that the unconscious body that of a player, at the very least, is constantly updating an internal set of equipment so that it knows exactly what it should be rendering when that player is no longer around for whatever reason. Maybe they timed out, maybe they logged off, maybe there was a power cut, who knows. But either way, the body's on the server and they're not. So, to handle that, we have this set, and we now need to be storing that in the NBT data so that it's separate from the actual armor of the body, but will ultimately be rendered in its place. So no matter what armor the body is given, usually by NBT data, it will nonetheless render as what the player was last known wearing. Okay. Oh boy. So to that end, I think we are going to probably want a new piece of data. So there's the compound. That handles the actual body's equipment, not the equipment of the actual, like, not the actual, like, equipment of the thing. So that, we're just going to be cloning that. Call that last known. And adding that to our data launcher. Okay, so when anything changes here, we ideally want it to register an update. So boolean needs update equals false. We could update this constantly. It probably wouldn't be a huge tax on most servers, but it's nice to be a bit efficient so that you don't require somebody to, like, max out their server RAM, for instance. Okay, so if equipped, let's see, trying to think exactly which one here we want. What is the exact thing that we need? Are items equal? Compares item and damage to the two stacks. I think that's exactly what we want. We know durability. Item stack tags equal. Could be that. Well, I'll just use that for the time being. Okay, so equipped. And then last known armor dot get slot. It's currently complaining because that is a static function from item stack. And item stack dot. We want the tags as well. So equipped. Last known armor get slot. If either of those are wrong, if they're not equal, then needs update equals true. And that's also, and we'll do that. Okay. If needs updates, then inform data launcher, I guess. In which case, we can do this by saying get data manager dot set last node equipment to abstract body dot write inventory to list new compound NBT. This would be our last known armor and our last known equip and null. Except for that part. if that works. I genuinely don't know if it will. I think it will. Most inventories are non-null. Okay, let's do the same thing here. With less amount of coins. If it doesn't, we can figure it out. That's fine. There. So every time it loops through, it updates if something has changed. Otherwise, should just be fine. Doesn't need to care about the actual main inventory for this, because we're just dealing with the stuff you could see. Okay, can I just say length, size, something like that? No, just get size. Okay, this is probably going to immediately crash, but let's find out. Find out the fun way, by crashing. I'm fairly certain this car will detonate the moment it hits an acorn. But just to be sure, let's load up a family of 4 and drive towards the drive towards the orchard. Honestly, not even the most disturbing thing I've said all night. Yep, there we go. Guessing could not be cast too. Yep, class cast exception. Okay, that's fine. You can figure that out. Is there a simple inventory? Just an inventory, for that matter. Yes, we can make an inventory like that. That's fine, it only needs to exist for this long. And I should be able to just put this to an array. Yes. Nope, and I believe this is right. Plus, has been out to see a movie tonight. Okay, now it shouldn't have a problem, so it should be able to update. Technically speaking, for the vast majority of cases, the last known equipment only needs to know what the item was, so for instance, iron helmets, netherite leggings, that kind of thing, but the tag will specify if it was an enchanted item or such. And potentially, a lot of different items will change how they look depending on their MBT data, so it's good to include that in this setup. There's an entertaining possibility. Like, I know you can already eject from dispensers a lot of items onto players to, like, give them high couture, let's say. But there's a very interesting possibility of dressing people while they're asleep or some such. It's like, you cast sleep. Your friend Dave falls over unconscious. You apply the like highest durability armor you have to Dave whilst he's unconscious. And then, I don't know, go get a snack. Maybe that's the thing. You knock your friends out whilst they're off like AFK, and then they're basically just like they're just your charge. Okay, well, we don't have any negatives happening here, as near as I can tell. But obviously, not rendering. That's our next step. Just wait for me to wake up. Anytime now, me. by the by, at least as far as 3.5, there's no declared cap to how much non-lethal, in this case bludgeoning, damage you can take. So a frequent notion with a monster called the Tarrasque, which has an ability called Regeneration that turns basically everything into non-lethal damage. A frequent strategy is basically to drop like a gigantic meteor on top of it, so that it takes so much non-lethal damage it will probably wake up in the next century or 6. That is not the case for various oddities, for hopefully obvious reasons, because especially in modern Minecraft, the amount of damage you can deal gets pretty ludicrous pretty fast. So if you had the capacity to knock somebody unconscious and then keep wailing on them so that their bludgeoning damage became utterly absurd, they would basically never get to play the video game again. So it is limited to, I think it's 10 points above your actual health. Which means that there is a theoretical limit to how long somebody will actually stay unconscious at most. You can still continue wailing on them to keep them unconscious, but at least then it actually requires, like, it requires significant investment by the actual, like, abusive player. Gives the other player some recourse, because, well, the admins are gonna know where they are. It won't be a matter if they did it 5 hours ago and logged off or something. But okay. So now, when we go to our renderer, let's see, where are you? Entity, corpse, body, abstract body. Which of these is it? And if it's just the body. Is it really just the body? It might just be the body. Yes, empty body unconscious, I see it right there. Okay. Very good. Alright, so in here, we need... Oh, we call the renderers for this, don't we? Oh, that gets a bit more complicated. I'm trying to think, how do we figure this out then? We can separate get body and get body for render. There's a possibility. Okay. So for most cases, this is just going to be the exact same thing, except for our unconscious bodies, which need to track the last known equipment. Okay. Hello, Aries. How you doing? Okay. What is the body we retrieve when we're getting it for a player? Dummy biped. Okay. That is fine by me. Because we just need to get the super and then run that through our actual hour set. Okay. So if it's a player and gets soul does not, well, equals null, rather. We are definitively a player, but our owner is in fact offline. to more or less run through this a bit more, I think. I'll do for the moment, but let's get this going properly. So for equipment slot. Oh, we tried that before. We don't have a list of the right. Yeah. Okay. Int slot equals 0. Slot is lower than equipment slot type dot group dot armor dot. No mention whatsoever of how long it is. Well, that's lovely. We'll assume 4 slots. Let's see, equipment slot type dot from slot type. Index the slot and this dot last node armor dot get from that slot. Okay. That'll equip it with whatever is in the last node armor. But only for the render, so it should never have a possibility of becoming duplicated. And last node there. Hunts? There we go. Okay, right. So now, when we go through and start fiddling with whatever is on our body, it should start to render again. And then the last daunting task is to try and fiddle with somebody else's body on a server. Which... that's gonna be tricky. I'm not entirely certain I can do that tonight. My main problem being that RememberCam as an account is tied to a much younger email that I currently still have access on, but my actual _lying account is tied to an email address I made in 1996. So the emails that come through to verify the right email address is being used take like 30 to 40 to plus like an hour to actually come through for me to see them and read the code, and by that point the entire session has expired, and consequently I can't continue and actually even use that code that I've just received. So yeah, it's a little hard for me to migrate that account, which I actually mandatorily need to do now. So yeah. Okay, current known equipments. We'll put my hotbar in the middle there. So this is not seeing any equipment there. Still not seeing any equipment there. Okay, we have issue then. Why are we not seeing this work? We know that it is actively doing stuff, so why is getBodyForRender not returning properly? Equipment, that's... Oh, it's because I'm not null. Right, yes, of course. Okay. That's fine. So, let me see if it... Let's see, it gets living entity soul equals get soul. If soul does not equal null, return soul. Actually, wait, we can't use that because it'll just return the entire entity and we need a clone. So, if soul equals null, there. That should make that work. Guessing I can stand up now. Yes, I can. Okay. So it's not rendering the actual equipment, it's rendering a duplicate of it. that only exists in data and is never dropped and is only used by the renderer. So even though I'm cloning the items, we should never be able to use that for duplication. But I'm sure the Psycraft server or something could find a way. Either way, there's only so much one can do. So if it's a player, get the soul. If the soul equals null, then do that. Probably best to just ignore that part and just actually return it. There. So if it's a player, always use that. Which is fine. What kind of, like, in-universe explanation should we give for why you can't access a player's inventory when they're offline, even though they're ostensibly right in front of you asleep? It's like I don't want to go so far as to have like a message saying a powerful magic wards this player or something. It's like what powerful magic prevents that from happening? That happens the moment you fall unconscious and log out. Player has entered the astral lockbox. Is that what we say? instead of an unconscious body, when you log out, the unconscious body becomes a little like translucent safe that cannot die and cannot be moved and that kind of thing, cannot be interacted with at all. It's just there as a marker, effectively. That was an interesting idea. Anyways, amusing idea, that's for sure. Okay, so you definitely have. You have a read on what the inventory is, but you're still not using it. Probably because we're referencing that which on the client side isn't being populated. It's just we're only storing it in the compound. Okay. That's probably it. Okay, in which case we need to have getter functions. Make the lockbox a block to save on memory. No, I couldn't. I understand what you mean, so. But no, I can't actually do that because that would potentially replace blocks. I would need to place the block where the player, like, where the player's unconscious body was. And that means that could just be something as straightforward as being air, or it could be like a piece of water, or it could be bedrock. Or it could be someone's, like, ender chest, or some such. It could be the player's own ender chest. So, placing blocks, sure, very useful for that kind of context, but in this case, that could be bad. Like, if there's, like, a big brawl, like, if somebody makes a beautiful arena, and then they have, like, I don't know, an ogre in it, and they go in, like, bludgeoning-only fights, and 15 people get knocked out, then if all of 15 of those people log out, some of those could replace blocks in that arena. So, you gotta be very careful when you're doing stuff like that. Right. So, if it's client side, which it should be, if it's just getting the... If it's only getting it for the render, then that means this is definitely client side. So, private item stack get... slot from last known equipment slot type. Okay, default. Okay. So if switch, would that be it? Yes, switch slots dot group doesn't know what group it is. That's lovely. Okay, we can do this, the group and the index here, basically. There. So switch group. And we want to actually load as well. So let's see. Where is the read? Read, there you are. Okay. Well, a version of that that feeds into our arrays. Armor list. Oh, that's the list. List NBT, that should be hand list. And the list NBT inv list, I guess. Should just be that. Okay. For int I equals 0, I is lower than last known armor size I plus plus less known armor set I to stack read, and that would be armor list compound I. Okay, we'll repeat for the hand items in the inventory, which we don't care about for the case of this, but there we go. Okay, so then get slots from last known, equipment slot type dot group dot armor. Boy, that's a slog, but it gives us no alternative. And slot. And same here for can. Okay. Now it'll retrieve it from the MBT data stored in the data manager, which is synchronized automatically with the client. And again, it's only updated when it needs to be. It's also not currently stored in memory at all, so if the player logs out and the body gets unloaded and reloaded, it will be just naked until the player logs back in. But let's see what we got. What we're looking for is non-nudie body. Okay, so once again, equipment, all about, how we should look when we're knocked out. Dreadfully helpful, that. And it's not working. Why is it not working? I don't know why it's not working. It should be rendering the last known equipment. The last known equipment should be being populated from what we're currently wearing. It should be retrieving us specifically. Last known equipment updated. that's 4 and that's 0 instead of 4 and 2. I don't know, but we're fixing. Oh, I should not put a sys out in here. It'll just be spam. But it'll at least let us know. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. That's why it's not showing anything. It's because I'm not actually returning anything. Okay. Hey. It's that time of night, I see. Well, the debug will be helpful at least. Just in case this also does not work. Yes, we have the programmer socks on today. Mandatory. OSHA compliant. OSHA compliant programmer socks. Okay. I didn't wake up. I think. I think I logged out before I had a chance to wake up, and now the body's gone. There we go. Okay, there we go. All back as normal. Hey, it's got gear, and if I take that off, it should change. Yep. Okay, let's put that there. Haha! Yes. So that is not drawing it directly from us. That is mirroring it server side and then synchronizing that so everybody can see the same thing. I don't remember what inventory slot I had on. Oh, there we go. So yeah, there we go. The container is updating us, and then the body is creating a duplicate of whatever is currently visible on us. Good. Grand and good. So, there we go. Equip me for battle for when I wake up. Okay. That's good. Right. Now, as I say, doing a server-side version of this is going to be quite difficult, so that is about all I have time for tonight, I am afraid. Hopefully by next week I'll have figured out some kind of solution to this. Otherwise, you will see me on the Thursday with the World of Madness crew playing either some Sea of Thieves, or some Deep Rock Galactic, or some Space Engineers, or all sorts of other stuff. Then on Saturday, I'll be back for the carousel, talking about what's been going on this past week, which will mostly be tech, I imagine, looking around at my very disheveled desk. And then we're back on Tuesday for whatever I can throw together for building blocks. In the meantime, any videos I make are over at youtube.com/lyingtube, and everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time.